Hey, hi, yeah, see that tiny frame rate counter right there in the top right corner? I didn't realize that it was up there, so you're gonna be seeing that the entire time. So get used to it, I guess. Or don't. I'm not your mother. Challenge videos aren't anything new for Fallout or for games in general. Off the top of my head for Fallout alone, I can think of Nurbit, Senza, VNG, and of course, the man, the myth, the Michiganian, Paul of Mitten Squad. Anyway, in spite of the fact that pretty much any conceivable challenge run has already been done, I'm tossing my metaphorical hat into the literal ring by asking, can you beat Fallout New Vegas as a sadistic pacifist? I start my life the same way any baby girl does, with a gunshot wound to the head. The doctor who saved my life insulted my name, and for that, I have a special gift for him. And due to Amazon giving me a free month of Prime, it'll be here by tonight. Then, after stealing everything that Molebutt has ever had to his name, I leave his house and shoot some bottles with Sunny behind the saloon. Then I agree to help Sunny and Sunny hunt some geckos outside of town. Joke's on her though. I don't have any intention of killing those animals. That would be inhumane. I force Sunny, the real one, not Sunny or Sunny, to do the deed for me. For her own hard work, she rewards me with some extra ammo and tells me to kill a few more geckos with her. But wait, do you hear that? A poor Goodsprings settler is being attacked by geckos, and she's begging for my help. Unfortunately for her, I have a strict no-murder policy, so I have to watch as the geckos rip her from limb to limb. Or at least that's what I told Sunny. In reality, I let her die. With one death, most foul on my count, I head back up to the saloon. After heading into town, I head out of town to track down Joe Cobb and offer him my assistance in taking over Goodsprings. In order to do that, he gives me the objective of killing well. After putting down the game for multiple days to play Starfield, since I forgot to make any saves before loading into the gas station, I restart and do everything exactly the same. Unfortunately, this means that Doc Mitchell will never receive his package. Instead of dealing with this right now, I book it over to the New California Republic Correctional Facility Corrections Facility. After paying the sailboat at the door 100 caps, I talk to Eddie about another powder ganger gang who's been a thorn in his side. I tell the leader of this offshoot gang to scram, and surprisingly, he listens. I then return to Eddie, who has some more busy work for me. This time, he's sending me after his former court jester who failed to make him laugh. Eddie wanted me to kill him, but unfortunately I have a strict moral code that says I can't murder clowns. I let the clown go and tell Eddie that I murdered him. For my success in killing both of my past targets, as far as Eddie is aware anyway, he gives me some real work. Specifically, he wants me to see if the NCRs, just near town in Prim, are planning to attack the prison. Since I've already played this game like 100 times now, I go straight to Johnston Nash and force him to tell me if the NCR are going to be attacking the prison. Instead of going back to Eddie and warning him, I go and talk to Lieutenant and offer him my assistance in attacking the prison. Lou says he has a good feeling about me, so he accepts my offer and sends me back to the prison to assist his soldiers in attacking it. Rather than being of any help whatsoever, I sit on the toilet and wait for the NCR to clear out the courtyard. When the courtyard is clear, I head inside the main building, immediately run out, wait for the NCR to run in, then rejoin them. The powder gangers never stood a chance. A bunch of them die in the battle. A few NCR soldiers also die in the battle, but their lives don't count. After a brief scare with one convict who lived, I counted 13 gangers dead. This does not, however, count the ones inside cell block A and B, nor the administration building, who ran after me for a really long time as I booked it away from the prison. In total, the attack leaves me with 14 kills. From there, I head back down southeast Nipton, where I break the rules, really putting my back into putting 2 shotgun shells into Oliver Swanick. You may think that this is where the challenge fails, but you'd be wrong. Oliver Swanick never counts. You're always allowed to kill him. I ignore the orders of Volpez and Kulta, and instead run straight to Ranger Station Charlie, where I remember that I never did the Ghost Town gunfight quest, so I fast travel back to Goodsprings and offer my help to Ringo. I then went to get Sunny's help, which is when I realized for the first time that Sunny and Trudy live together in a house with one bed. Surely that doesn't imply anything. Anyway, I enlist the help of Trudy and head to Chet to enlist his leather armor. Before I talk to him, Ringo, of all people, follows me inside and talks to me. Ignoring that, I get the armor from Chet, then get Doc Mitchell's supplies, and talk to Ringo in the gas station where he belongs. I watch as the Powder Gang sweeps into town, and a fight breaks out between the Goodsprings militia and Joe and the Corny Bunch. Goodsprings wins, of course, but not without its losses. Both Trudy and a random nameless settler nobody cares about died. Of course, only the members of the Corny Bunch count for my tally, with an additional 6 kills giving me 20 total. From there, I head back to Novak and start Boone's quest. I try to do the quest the way I usually do in regular playthroughs. Get Jeannie May out in front of the dinosaur, have him kill her, steal her key, get the bill of sale, and give it to Boone. But for some reason, the dialogue with Jeannie May to send her to the dinosaur doesn't appear. So, to resolve the quest, I told Manny Vargas to head out in front of the dinosaur, and laughed as Boone murdered his own best friend, and was hit with the karma when I lacked the speech skill to convince Boone that it was really Manny who got his wife killed. It doesn't matter, I got what I was after, which is another kill for the count. I looted Manny's corpse for information detailing where my killers had gone. They went to Boulder City, so guess where I went? Also Boulder City. While walking into town, I taunted an old friend by shooting the monument, then ran into the city before he could whine about his little bitch of a brother. I talked to Jessup, but I didn't get him to free the hostages. Instead, I freed the hostages myself, making the cons go hostile. Tragically, one of the hostages died in the firefight, as did all of the great cons. If we count the hostage dying as my fault, which I'm going to, this totals 28 kills. I ignored a surprise tool that'll help us later, as I quickly marked Camp Golf on the map, then remembered there's an old man here who needs a 4570 directly to the skull. I fast travel to the nearest location to Forlorn Hope and talk to Tech Sergeant Reyes, who tasks me with delivering packages of coats to each of the comm officers at each of the ranger stations. Before I head out, I also talk to Major Pilates, and in order to restore hope to Forlorn Hope, I agree to find some missing supplies, which I very quickly learn weren't missing at all, because I found them. Now Major Platypus wants me to help the doctor cure some patients. Little does he know, the only hippo I know is hippopotamus, so I intentionally failed to treat all of the doctor's patients. Only one died, that still makes my 29th kill. With that kill out of the way, I start delivering those jackets to each of the ranger stations one by one. They all complain about how we're in the middle of a desert and they don't need any more fur coats, but I ignore their whining and return to Reyes. Hi, me again, editing Parable. This definitely isn't just the same clip of me on the rooftop as before. Yeah, I somehow lost the recording for this part, so I had to go back and remake it so that you had something to look at. I used console commands to fast travel to the quest targets rather than spend an hour redoing the quest for real. But I promise I did do it for real the first time, okay? Okay, thanks. I returned to Reyes with the information that, apparently, nobody has actually been dying, meaning I don't have any coats to return to her. As punishment for me failing to bring her coats, she sends me back to Camp Golf and tells me to talk to Chief Hanlon of the NCR Rangers. Hamlin and I meet in his office where he tells me that he's been intentionally sending too many coats to all of his ranger stations. When I threaten to turn him in for this heinous crime, he shoots himself in the head. That certainly escalated quickly. Regardless, Hanlon's demotion puts me with a solid 30 kills, and I head to the Crimson Caravan for a new job, then immediately close the game for 5 hours, attempt to sleep, fail miserably, spend half an hour staring at a script for a potential future video I'm not even sure I'll make yet, and then jump back into the game. Ronald McDonald of Crimson Caravan fame wants me to deliver a package to Dr. Hilda, who I can find at the nearest McDonald's place. As you can tell, I'm very good with my words, by the way. Mr. Dr. Hilda mentions something about plants, so I assume he's pointing me toward Major the Tree, who I go outside and search for. Harold doesn't leave me hanging when I ask him for a job. He tells me about a few of his friends who are causing him trouble, including one who keeps beating him in golf. I agree to kill driver Nephi, or Nephi. He pronounces it Nephi, but I enlist the help of First Recon to do so. First Recon meets me near Baby Driver. I lure Baby and his friends out into their sightlines, acting as a meat shield while they take pot shots at me. In the ensuing battle, Ryan and 6 other unnamed fiends die, giving me a total of 37 kills. I give the tree some new fertilizer, then fast travel back to McLafferty to continue our quest. Suddenly, I remember something. I initially started the Crimson Fleet questline so that I could get Cass to follow me to the Silver Rush and have Jean-Baptiste kill her. But I realized somewhere in the loading screen that I can just get someone to bomb the Silver Rush, getting me 700% more kills than if I just let Jean kill Cass. Jean, not Jean. So that's what I plan to do. I head to the Silver Rush, watch Gloria have her former lover turned into dust, and ask her for a job. She tells me to stand guard with Simon, who starts going over standard procedures. I zone out while Simon goes over all the rules of the job, namely the rule where he says, don't let people with C4 strapped to their chest in the store. Since I missed the rules, I let every single person who comes to the door inside, including a guy that definitely doesn't have C4 strapped to his chest. Out of absolutely nowhere, the Silver Rush spontaneously combusts, killing everyone inside. By everyone inside, I mean the 7 corpses I can see. Presumably, the suicide bomber and the 3 people I sent in before him would also have died in the explosion, but their bodies are nowhere to be seen, so I guess they got out through the bathroom window or something, so I'm not going to count any of them, meaning I have a tally of 44 kills. And for the first time since the first time I played the game, I follow Victor's advice by heading into the Lucky 38 and talking to Mr. House immediately. Before Robert Edwin House has a chance to introduce himself or tell me about any of his ideologies that he doesn't actually believe in, I stab him in the back by opening the antechamber, taking the elevator to the control room, opening his VR pod, and using his terminal to blast him to pieces. Something worth noting is that killing House will also make Victor and one of his 2 robot sex slaves, Marilyn Monroe, disappear, but I'm not going to count them as dead. With House out of the frame, I meet with Benny inside the Tops, and before he can say, "What in the goddamn?" Sadistic Sally offers to give him a package. Her package. By her package, I mean her penis, in case that wasn't obvious. Benny agrees to handle Sally's package, but it was a trap. The real package was an undisclosed method of killing him that does not add to my people killed tracker and my Pip-Boy. If you're not using subtitles, you may have missed the asterisk next to the word trap. This asterisk thing is a joke I stole from Paul, but the other one is a joke that I'm allowed to make, because I'm not so different from Sally. That's my phone. Just for clarification. Anywho, with both of the people dumb enough to take on the NCR and Legion dead, I tell Yes Man that I want to take on the NCR and Legion. He gives me a list of factions I should share a beer with, and I tell him to meet me at the Lucky 38, where he's going to spend the next few hours of his artificial life waiting for me. Instead of putting Yes Man into the Lucky 38 now, I close out of the game and learn that OBS records in MKV format by default for some reason. The editing software I plan on using doesn't support that, so that's awesome. Skipping over that headache, I carry on to Boomer territory. George is kind enough to sacrifice his own life to allow me to reach the gate without stopping. I talked to Pearl about helping Nellis. My first task given to me is to clear out the ants from the generator room and reactivate said generators. To avoid actually killing the ants, I talked to Loyal, who's been working on a radio that plays music so bad that the ants immediately hit their killbind. It takes some convincing, but he allows me to borrow his radio. In return, he asks me to fix the solar panels on the roof, because he's too lazy to head out there to do it himself. I head to the basement and set up the radio. Unfortunately, this is where I learned that using the radio to kill the ants counts as you killing the ants, for some reason. So I load back and go to fix the solar panels, where I learn that I lack the repair skill required to do so. Great. Well, while I'm in Nellis, I go speak to Jack and pretend that he's attractive enough for a woman to be attracted to him. He tells me about a girl from the Crimson Caravan that he's interested in, and I agree to talk to her. By talk to her, I mean lie to her, by saying the Boomers have already granted her safe passage into their land. The second I exit the barracks she was staying in, the quest fails, and I hear a squishy mutilation sound. Shocked, I look around, but Janet is gone, so I pause the challenge and use console commands to move Janet to me. Sure enough, Janet has had her leg blown off, killing her and giving me my 47th kill. Which reminds me, I've been playing this game regularly for almost a decade, and I've never experienced as many weird bugs like this in a single playthrough without using mods. It's actually impressive. Anyway, on to my next task, Helios 1. I talked to Mr. Dr. Fantastic and agreed to send power to the strip in McDonald's. Ignacio Rivas asked me to distribute it evenly instead. That sounds like communism. And if there's one thing I'm definitely not, it's someone with ideals that could be considered communist. I promise Mr. River that I'm definitely not going to activate the space laser. After collecting solar panel parts from around the yard, I head into the tower and run past all the robots, barely surviving my trip. Like, seriously, barely. When I reach the top of the tower, I fix the generator connected to the computer and follow through on my promise to Mr. River by definitely not powering up the space laser.
Archimedes 2 orbital laser bombardment will commence in T-minus 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This concludes our firing test of the Archimedes 1 and 2 laser systems.
Somehow, the space laser killed 13 of the NCR troopers stationed down below me. I don't know what happened, but I'm counting these deaths to my kill count, giving me a total of 60. While in the area, I head back down to Novak, take a trip to Repcon after hearing about some ghouls hiding out in there. I book it through Repcon past all the ghouls to meet with Jason. However, before I get the chance to speak with him, the ghouls I ran past earlier follow me through the door. For some reason, this makes Jason turn hostile, making it impossible for me to murder him and send him and his friends to see their god. I run my 2 or more races ass out of there, but as I exit the door, I get jump scared by a mob of the dead. So I head out of there as fast as I can as they all pursue. As I flee for safety, I spot another horde in front of me, so I scale the overpass, or underpass? I'm not really sure what the difference is. The ghouls try to follow me, and one of them manages to smack me through a fence, but I jump down and start running again, fast traveling back to Nellis so that I can fix the solar panels. I tell Loyal that I fixed them, then steal some scrap metal from Jack to give it to Jack for more Boomers fame. I then pretend to care about Pete's history lesson about the Boomers' corn obsession. Then I answer him a few questions about the Boomers, pushing me, barely, to idolize with them. I tell Pearl I've done everything I can, and she believes me for some reason, so now she has a new task. Pearl and Loyal want me to lift a 200-year-old plane from the bottom of a lake so they can fix it. Sounds like a great plan, so I go to the nearest location, quick save less than a second before being stunned by a Cazador, then swim to the bottom of Lake Mead to attach the ballasts to the plane. After nearly drowning, because I didn't get the rebreather from Jack, I get jump scared by a lake lurk and swim to shore, where I use Loyal's detonator to lift the plane from the water. To lift the plane? Huh. Okay, well, in spite of the bomber not existing, I tell Loyal that I've raised it from the lake. Then I tell Pearl the same thing, because apparently communication hasn't been streamlined around here. Pearl agrees to use the non-existent bomber at the Battle of Hoover Dam. With the Boomers and their invisible jet by my side, I go to the 188 trading post to pick up a tool I left here earlier. Veronica and I enter the only home she's ever known, where the only family she's ever had welcomes me in under the condition that I speak to their elder. Before McNamara has a chance to ask me to solve his pointless problems, I say, huh, and snatch the keycard from his pocket, then run off. I reach my sticky hands into the pockets of Head Paladin Harden and Head Scribe Taggart to get their keycards too. In less than 5 minutes of being in the bunker, I activate the self-destruct sequence. I talk to Veronica before she can kill any of her friends so that she leaves my company but stays in the bunker. I run the swear word out this hoe and watch the Brotherhood of Steel turn into the Brotherhood of Cement. What? They're covered in concrete, baby! That was awful. I went back to the bunker later on in another save to count how many Brotherhood there were in the bunker. By my best count, I could find 32 different members, 10 of which are named, the rest weren't. By adding Veronica to the tally, me blowing up the bunker leaves me with a total of 93 kills. I think. Well, without any time to waste, I walk my way all the way to Conwood Cove, since I don't really have anywhere close to fast travel to, where I promptly dump toxic barrels off of a cliff to kill everyone in the camp. In total, 11 people die here, including several legionaries and the 3 Weathers family members, making my kill count 104. To wrap up the rest of the story, I stop by Hard Rock Canyon for 5 seconds and decide the cons are too pathetic for me to care about. So I return to the strip, where I enter Sodom and flirt with the cute girl at reception. She agrees to a date, but I promptly stand her up by running to the Ultralux and talking to Morty. Morty teaches me about the Black Glove Society. If there's one thing I hate in this life, it's cheaters, so I leave the Ultralux and meet with Yes Man, who finally takes over the Lucky 38's network. I thriller dance along to Yes Man's slideshow, then he tells me to save President Kimball. This is a sad moment, but I lack the NCR reputation to start this quest, meaning I miss out on being able to add the NCR Ranger and President Kimball to my list. I was going to count my intentional inaction at saving them as kills. So, Yes Man and I move on by taking the road to El Dorado, where I ignore the NCR troopers and definitely don't enter the substation and definitely don't put an override chip into their computer. I return to the Lucky 83 for one last time, triggering the battle at Hoover Dam. At the dam, I ignore every enemy by allowing them to fight each other. I run inside, lie to the tin cans near the control room, and have Yes Man take over the dam. As a result of me never activating the Securitron army under the fort, my only option to proceed is to destroy Hoover Dam, which I do happily. I run out of there, and as the NCR realize I've turned on them, I briefly stop to drink from a sink, then carry on across the dam when I'm bored. I run past the Legate soldiers, then Sally uses her golden looks and silver tongue to convince Linnaeus that fighting her would be a bad idea. As you can see, Sally was bluffing. At this point, the Legate could have poked her really hard and she'd have died, but he still runs away anyway. As I walk to the gate, General Lee Oliver blows it up and meets me. He offers me a cigar, but I offer him something better. 206 broken bones. I order Yes Man to toss Ollie off the damn dam, finishing the game with a total of 105 kills without killing anyone, except for Swanik, but he doesn't count. I only count things that deserve to be alive. So that's it, I guess. I finished with over 100 indirect kills, but after beating the game, I realized there's a few kills I could have gotten. For one, I could have blown up Vault 19 and all the powder gangers inside. I, however, forgot that this was an option, so I didn't do it. There's also the possibility of a few kills from how little we know, with Nero, Big Saul, Kachino, and Troik all possibly dying from my actions. And there's also Beyond the Beef, which can have Mortimer, Ted and Heck, and Carlisle St. Clair or a companion dying during the quest. You may have noticed that I also didn't do any of the DLCs in this video. In Dead Money, the only kill I could kind of get is Elijah, but based on my vague rules, his death couldn't count. Plus, I doubt I could get through Dead Money without my companions killing anyone. Salt Upon Wounds can also be killed by Joshua at the end of Honest Hearts, but I didn't want to play Honest Hearts as a pacifist for only one kill. Old World Blues can be finished as a pacifist, and doesn't have any kills I can claim without doing them indirectly anyway. Lonesome Road gives me the option of nuking the NCR and Legion, but I wouldn't count any kills from it. There's no clear number of people who die when nuking them, and even if I counted the marked men in the Long 15 and Dry Wells, it doesn't feel right, because they still seem kind of alive, I guess, I don't know. Plus, I don't think I can finish Lonesome Road without Eddie killing any creatures anyway. Well, I'm honestly not really sure what kind of reception to expect for this, or even if literally anyone will see this in the recommended and watch it. If anyone is here and has watched all the way through to this point, let me know what you think. Is my script writing bad? Is my editing extremely bad? Am I doing something too similar to something else? Too different? Should I change the way I do something? You know, anything like that. I've never really done any video editing before, so that one would be completely understandable. I've also never recorded anything with my voice like this before, and honestly, out of everything, that was the most difficult part. I didn't want to do it with anyone else home, because that's awkward. But aside from that, I also have a difficult time sounding clear. I don't know. I'm sure it'll get easier if I keep doing it. Emphasis on if. Regardless of reception, I do have a few more planned challenges that I'll probably record and upload, but I guess we'll see how it goes. I don't really have any planned schedule or anything, because again, I don't know how this will go. But if or when those do happen, I'll see you then. I don't know how outros work.